everybody get in here and pump up Matt Morris. Right, Matt? Okay. The Cardinals offense is the best way to do it. It's time for those guys to tee it up and let it go. Get some runs, get Morris to win, and get that magic number down to 4. Cards and Astros next on FSN Midwest. It's not only next, it's right now. We are seconds away from the start of this game. The Cardinals and the Astros, game 2 of this 3-game set. These are two very hot teams since the middle of August. You see the Astros leading the way. They've lost only 6 times, and over the same stretch, the Cardinals have lost only 9 times. The Marlins already won today. What will happen tonight? I'm Joe, that's Al, and it's been fun watching the National League down the stretch here to trail that wild card and see what's going on there. Meanwhile, the Cardinals have to get her going, and tonight's the night to get it started with Morris on the mound.
Well, it is, and you know what was interesting about that graphic is how well this team has played with runaway winners in the Central Division. But you're right about Matt Morris. He's got to show up tonight, and this is once again like Suppan last night. It's a preview to see who's in that rotation, and I think that obviously any ties go to Matt with his postseason experience, but he's got to step it up.
See what happens tonight on that front. On the other side, we look at our 4 dealers key matchup, and we look at the 2 table setters for each club. The numbers are very similar. I would say Biggio is more of an RBI guy, and Womack is a guy that can get on and steal more bases.
Well, and Biggio is a 14-game hitting streak. Womack last night had 3 hits and a couple more infield hits. They're different type players, but they're very important to their ball clubs.
Cardinals getting ready behind Matt Morris tonight in downtown St. Louis. When we come back, Dan McLaughlin will set up, and we will listen to Whitey Herzog talk about what the Cardinals need to do down the stretch as they guide this thing home. That will follow on FSN Midwest.
Last night, the Cardinals and their fans said goodbye to the 10-game home winning streak as Houston took game number 1. We welcome you back to Cardinals baseball here at Busch Stadium. The Cardinals have hit a little bit of a bump in the road down the stretch. Now, I visited this afternoon with former Cardinal manager Whitey Herzog. He's been a player, a coach, a manager. He's seen great leads like this. What do you do to stay sharp down the stretch?
I think when you say lose the edge, when you got a big lead like the Cardinals have, you're going to lose the edge anyway. You think you're bearing down. You think you're trying to win, but, you know, you really don't have to win. That's just human nature, and I've been there. I've had teams that go down to the wire, got in the playoffs and played well. I've had teams that had a big lead, 7-8 game lead, and you rest them in a few days and played well. The playoffs are a second season, and everything, when that thing goes the opening day of the playoffs start, it's all like a new ball game, and they'll forget everything that happened the last few weeks. Part of the reason that, you know, they've lost 5 out of 7, they played 3 pretty good ball clubs, and Houston's hot right now. Early in the season, it seemed like they played clubs that weren't hot. They were injured, they were cold. Everything kind of went their way, and they got on a roll, and their consistency of their starting pitching all year has just been outstanding. I can't remember, even from the time that I managed, 82, my starting pitching with 2 rookies, LaPointe and Stuper, was very, very consistent. But this Cardinal team, outside the time that Woody got on track after about the first month, and outside of maybe a few times by Matt on the road where he's had some inconsistent starts, I've never seen a 5-man staff be as consistent and give quality starts day in and day out, and not really say you got to. I think Carpenter would have to be designated number 1, but I don't really know on this staff who would be 2, 3, 4, and 5 because they've all been very good.
You will see more with Whitey Herzog next week on the Midwest Sports Report and Cardinals Tonight. A lot of interesting thoughts about the 2004 version of St. Louis Cardinals baseball.
Tonight, the Cardinals and Astros, the magic number is still at 5. The Cubs won last night. They won today 13-5 over the Pirates. And we look at the Cardinals half of the Advance Auto Parts pitching matchup, coming off a great one and a bad one, Matt Morris.
Well, you just don't know what you're going to get, but his record at night, and that's the one thing, he pitches very well here in this ballpark, and at night he's 11-4. So those are things to think about if the first game or 2 are at Busch Stadium and night games.
Walker, and he makes the play at the wall.
That remains to be seen. Hello, World Series, but the Cardinals certainly have the best shot, in my opinion, of any team across Major League Baseball. We go around the horn. It's brought to you by Auto Tire. Sanders, Edmonds, and Walker in right, with Luna over at third tonight. Renteria trying to break out of a hitting funk. Womack and Pujols. Mike Matheny does the catching for Matt Morris, and off we go. Morris, we talked about the specifics of being terrific 2 starts ago. 2-hit shutout. A 3-0 win over the Dodgers, then only a 2-inning performance. 7 runs on 5 hits at San Diego. The lineup for Houston, talking to Tony La Russa before the game, he said these guys have a lot of at-bats against Matt Morris. Got some good averages against Matt Morris. So if he pitches well tonight, he will really earn it. First pitch is high and tight to Biggio, and all anybody wanted to talk about, Al, after that 2-inning performance at San Diego was the diminished velocity on the part of Matt Morris.
Well, there have been times it has been down, but I'd rather talk about the 2-hit shutout against the Dodgers, where he was outstanding, and not this time where he lost to the Padres in only 2 innings and 7 runs. 83
degrees tonight, so maybe a little muggy, but all things considered, the tremendous weather in St. Louis continues, and Matt will sweat through this start. 2 balls and a strike on Biggio, leading it off for Houston, and that's a good start. Hard hit with 1 out. Maybe that's the way tonight will go for Matt Morris. And under the watchful eye of Dave Duncan, we saw those two have a run-in a few starts ago here in St. Louis. 2 very competitive people. Matt Morris will try to figure out this red-hot Houston team. Batting in the number 2 spot. And as Al said last night, a big reason why the Astros believe they've turned it around is Beltran. Up in this position where the Cardinals have elected to hit Larry Walker.
Interesting, one of the other things is many people believe it was inserting Beltran in the 2nd spot. Another key was a series against the Cubs where Cubs got a little cubbish against them, started knocking down people, and all of a sudden I think the Astros decided they had a little fight in them, and then won the next 3 games of that series and went on a roll.
There have been a few times this season in the second half where the Cubs have been Cardinal fans, and that is certainly the case as the Cardinals play the Astros. The Cubs couldn't care less about the magic number. That's a foregone conclusion. The Cardinals will win the Central Division. You can almost even get Tony La Russa to admit that. But the Cubs are worrying about the wild card race, and they start the day tied with the Giants after having posted a victory already over Pittsburgh. Giants are scoreless after 2 at Milwaukee. Right now they are tied. If the Giants win, they'll stay a half game out in front. The Giants start the day a game in front of Houston. The 2-2. And Beltran went awfully far, and he's gone. 2 outs.
Matt Morris, the consistency on his breaking ball is a key for him. And they're kind of going around the plate a little bit. Gets his Beltran to commit. And a good strikeout right there. So far, a good start for Matty Moe.
Here is Joe Buck's 2-bit scouting report on Beltran. He can handle anybody's fastball, but we have seen him out in front of a lot of off-speed pitches and breaking balls the last 2 nights. When Suppan got strikes on Beltran, he was changing speeds and flipping that breaking ball in the dirt.
Worth noting that was last pitch was 94 miles an hour.
1 ball, no strikes on Bagwell. Be nice for Matt to have a perfect first inning. Another 94-mile-an-hour pitch. The result is a 2-0 count.
The reason we say that is because a lot of people are concerned about the diminished velocity and talking about all of his fastballs being in the 80-mile-an-hour range.
Here's a 2-0. Good pitch on the hands. Another 94-mile-an-hour pitch. 2-1. The interesting thing about Morris is you can't ignore, I'm not a big stats guy, but you can't ignore the statistics that are out there on Morris this season that you touched on earlier, with the difference in home versus road, day versus night. The tricky part of it is if you're in a best of 5 series, you can't play around with the first couple of games. We'll talk more about that. Morris had a perfect first inning. He went 1-2-3 through the Houston Astros, and now in the bottom half, one guy not pictured is the guy batting ninth. Womack is first up. Walker and Pujols will follow. And Womack takes a strike from the lefty Carlos Hernandez, who was about as hot a prospect as any team had in baseball before arm trouble set in for Hernandez. No balls, 2 strikes on Womack, hitting .305. These are the statistics. 7th start for the lefty.
Yeah, he missed all last season with shoulder surgery. He started showing up and had this surgery in '02, and he was an exciting young pitcher.
Womack chops it. Bagwell flips it. 3-1 on the putout, and Womack, who had 3 hits last night, 3 for 3, is 0 for 1 tonight. The defense for the Astros: Biggio, Beltran, and Berkman in the outfield. Lamb, Vizcaíno, Kent, Bagwell on the infield, with Chavez catching Hernandez. So no Osmus tonight. Here's Larry Walker. Had 1 hit and 4 trips last night. If you left this early and you didn't read the paper today about the Cardinal-Astro game last night, it was 7-1. Seemingly from the first inning on until the 9th inning, when the Cardinals made it 7-5, and at 2nd and 3rd when the game ended, so Taguchi up and were a hit away from tying the game, but Lidge got the save. And the Astros, Phil Garner saying, "I just wanted to make it interesting for these great fans," and they did, thanks in large part to an error by Eric Bruntlett, a young shortstop. And that is our Geico Direct moment. I thought the fans deserved to see an exciting finish, and they did. Those who remained, the crowd of 29,000 last night. Here's a 2-1 to Walker. 2-2. Here's the error that set up the chance. Popped up by Sanders. And you think, all right, go get him tomorrow. And then for some reason, Bruntlett comes up the back of the third baseman Ensberg and played on. Here's a 2-2 to Walker. He was trying to get hit by that pitch. Full count. See him stick that right arm out.
I wonder if that same quote would apply if Cardinals would have went on and won that game.
Phil Garner would have said, "Get out of my office."
Scrap by him.
Walker checked it, and that's a 1-out walk.
Carlos Hernandez is really kind of trying to find himself. And they feel that before the shoulder surgery, he was consistently in the low 90s. And now when he tries to muscle up and get the ball into the 90s, he loses command. He's better off throwing a few miles an hour slower and having control.
You read my mind. So here's a Houston Astros team that is a game out in the wild card, really fighting upstream the second half of the season. They get a terrific start last night from Roger Clemens. They can pretty much count on one every time Roy Oswalt takes the ball. He's a 17-game winner, as is Clemens. But then you go from those top 2 to guys that are basically filling spots in a rotation. Brandon Backey, a right-hander's made only 5 starts. And this guy's making his 7th, and yet here are the Astros, large part because of a hot offense, that have made a charge up the ladder in the wild card standings.
See Phil Garner, and of course he had some good results with some young teams with the Brewers a few years ago and had some disasters, but this guy has been a difference maker. Carlos Beltran, one of the best in the National League.
1-1 to Albert is popped foul. That will get out of play. So this is a team that, in my opinion, if they got into the division series, we need to talk more about the Morris situation. If they got into a division series where it's you need to win 3 to move on, if they've got Oswalt and Clemens, you have to like their chances with this offense. If they get to the next round, this is provided they even get in the playoffs, that's where they could be exposed with their 3rd, 4th, and even 5th starters in a longer series. But top 2, Oswalt and Clemens, that's pretty good.
Pretty good, and the mentality of players is, I'll take my chances. Get there, take your chances, and you never know.
1 ball, 2 strikes on Albert Pujols. Whoa. That will wake you up. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Just kept running in on Pujols, and he was able to get out of the way.
Out there striding in, and you see how he gets out of the way as you spin backwards away from that pitch, head high.
Here is a 2-2 and a little squirter, like a cue shot. And Hernandez makes the play down to second as Walker 2 out. Let's go back to that 1-2 pitch. It was up and in, and watch the reaction of Tony La Russa. That ball missed Pujols.
Well, he never likes to see anybody get hit, but what drives him crazy is a pitcher throwing the ball above the shoulders. And Tony I asked him one time point blank, because he is so adamant. He will get in the face of one of his pitchers if they throw one, even if it gets away up there. And I said, you were obviously hit in the head before. And he said twice.
Here is Renteria trying to give the guy pictured a moment ago, Matt Morris, a lead.
So when you're 0 for your last 21, you put him in the cleanup spot.
That's the situation tonight, and that is not surprising on the part of Tony La Russa that would be the situation. Last night he made a bid for a hit in his final at bat. It hit off the pitcher, kicked to the shortstop for an out. So he's in one of those streaks where even when he hits it well, he doesn't get anything to show for it. That's 2-0 with Edmonds on deck.
Throughout the season, he's probably been robbed more than any other player. Robbed of base hits, but he likes to drive in runners, and he's got one sitting out there.
Here is a 2-0. Renteria checked a swing on a strike, 2-1. First time that Renteria has been put in that cleanup spot all year, and he is trying to make it pay off for Tony La Russa.
Told me it's the 3rd time he's done it, though. So a lot of experience.
See what he does on a 2-1 pitch with Walker at second, 2 out. That's hit high in the air to left, but he didn't get enough of it. Biggio will take it to end the inning. Pretty good swing, but just didn't catch it. Cardinals strand a man, and after 1, Cards and Astros, no score. A huge Cardinal fan, Chad Duncan from Barnett, Missouri, just underwent a heart transplant, recuperating nicely, doing well at Barnes Hospital just down the highway here in St. Louis. So enjoy the game tonight, and a strike hits the outside corner to Lance Berkman, with Kent and Lamb to follow. The 0-1. 1 ball, 1 strike. Lance had the biggest swing last night, a 2-out, 3-run double that opened it up, and it turned out the Astros needed every run as it ended 7-5. Here's a 1-1. Hard hit, but right into the defense, and Womack can't corral it. Had him positioned perfectly, but with that sinking line drive, Womack couldn't field it. And we'll see what they call it. Berkman is now 5 out of 6 in this series. If he gets a hit, which he certainly hit it hard enough to get a hit.
He's got a little top spin, and Womack looked like he thought he was going to catch it in the air, and then it sinks on him, and then short hops him and gets by him.
It is a base hit.
And if I'm not mistaken, that's 5 consecutive hits for Berkman, who popped up to third base in foul territory for the first plate appearance last night.
Here is Kent. There is a ball. Pretty good pitch. Down and away. Ball 1. Kent is driven in 92. This Astros team is led by Berkman with 96. And Kent, when he faces the Cardinals, just seems to hang out line drives left and right. Kent checked it. It's 2-0. We were talking about Morris, Al, and if you're in a best-of-5 series, you know, Matt Morris, I think conceivably could pitch his way down the stretch here into a game 1 or a game 2 start.
I don't think there's any doubt.
That's hammered into left field, into the corner, and it is a fair ball and a home run. 2-0 Houston as Kent goes deep. He just got enough of it, and it just got out and just stayed fair. 2-0 Astros.
A nemesis for Matt Morris, Jeff Kent, his 22nd home run of the year, and closing in on the all-time home run leader for second baseman. Remember the crushing blow he hit in 2 outs in the 9th inning off of Matt in Houston a couple years ago, and this one just snuck over the wall. Not much to spare.
Mike Lamb now strike one. So just to finish, and we could talk about this all night. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I think the one thing is Matt Morris pitching at home and at night. You don't pitch him in the day. You don't pitch him on the road. Woody Williams also has a problem pitching during the day.
1 ball, 1 strike. And just to go back, I mean, you can get carried away, I think, from time to time with statistics, but when you have an entire season's worth of statistics that say Matt Morris, if you want him to pitch, should pitch at home and at night. You know the Cardinals are going to start their first series at home and probably at night. Do you look at statistics and say, well, then Morris should get the ball in game 1 as opposed to a Carpenter or somebody else? It's an interesting decision.
Yeah, it really is. And like you brought up another point, you have to take advantage of those first 2 games that are at home, and you don't want to go on the road trailing.
That should be out number 1. Edmonds waits, and Lamb is gone. 1 down. So how deep do you want to wade through statistics to determine what your postseason rotation should be? If Morris is inconsistent down the stretch here, and I believe, this is just my opinion, it means absolutely nothing more than anybody else calling into any radio show, but I think the number 1 starter on this team is that guy in the middle of a picture, Chris Carpenter. That's who would get the ball for me if the playoff series was started.
The nice thing about Carpenter and Marquis is I don't think you worry about pitching them on the road.
This Gaino grounds to Womack. Or out number 2.
There's question marks on everybody. I mean, you could say, well, Jason Marquis never pitched, the youngest guy in the rotation. But you got to just sit there and say they pitched well all season. Why not? They're going to duplicate it in postseason.
And Marquis, I think you can make the case, probably has the most dynamic stuff and has the ability of all the guys to throw a shutout, a really limited team because of his overpowering sinker and the kind of stuff that he brings. But I think with what Carpenter did earlier in the year when the Cardinals were obviously not running away with things and playing big series against the Cubs, their arch rival, the way he pitched at Wrigley, the way he pitched here, I think Carpenter has really put himself at the top of that list. With 2 out, nobody on. Ground ball to Luna. Nice play to his left. Made that look easy, and Chavez is gone to end the inning. But a base hit by Berkman. 2-run shot by Kent. 2-0 Houston.
He told me before the game, he said it was too close to game time for Edmonds to be out there, and then Walt Jockey was going to receive it. And he said, but Walt was sick. And I said, no, Walt's right down there in the field. And he said, now the word is I'm going to present it to myself and accept it in behalf of Jim Edmonds.
And if you're going to work for a bank, your name should be Rich Green. And if you're going to be a Major League Baseball player, your name should be Rich Batchelor, which was the name of a former Cardinal bullpenner. 1 ball, 1 strike on Jim Edmonds.
And if you're going to be a Major League pitcher, your name shouldn't be Walk.
No, Bob Walk. However, if you're going to be a pitching coach, I would call myself Frank Funk. 2 balls and a strike on Jim Edmonds with Sanders and Matheny to follow. Here's a 2-1. Jim swings through it. Jim last night, a couple of strikeouts and was 0 for 3. Then he came out of the game, and the irony of it all was that Taguchi took over, and he's had a very good year off the bench. But Edmonds is having a career type year, and the game got down to Edmonds' spot with 2 on and 2 out, and the Cardinals down by 2 in the 9th. Instead of Edmonds, it was Taguchi trying to hit Brad Lidge.
Jim's actually hit left-handers better this year, 343 versus 310 to righties. He's already hit 180 home runs as a Cardinal.
3-2 pitch. Is that another into left center field? You bet. Well timed, Al. It's 2-1. Number 42 on the year. And how many in his Cardinal career?
181.
And that cuts the lead in half. That swing, when he makes contact like that, just looks absolutely effortless. And he hit that way out into left center.
He's hit 21 home runs since the All-Star break. He's one home run away from tying Johnny Mize for the most home runs by a left-handed hitter at 43. And what separates him is that ability to go to the opposite field with power.
Ball one to Reggie Sanders.
That made Howard Etling very happy. Remember Howard Etling,
Absolutely.
our good buddy?
Sure.
A belated 90th birthday. He's 90 years young now, and from another friend, Dorian Magowitz.
Happy birthday to Howard. That's 2-0 on Reggie Sanders. How about the Mets? Are they a mess? Today they fired Art Howe, but Art Howe has agreed to remain in the dugout and manage the team the rest of the way. How weird is that? Here's a 2-0 to Sanders. That's a team with a $100 million payroll that at the trading deadline fooled themselves into thinking they were good enough to win the division and advance in postseason. They traded a bunch of kids to get potential free agent in Chris Benson and Victor Zambrano, who got hurt. And one of the kids they traded was Scott Kazmir, who flat out shut down the Red Sox last night at Fenway Park and beat Pedro Martinez, and he's 19.
How can you give up a left-hander too?
That throws 94.
Well, but he probably will get hurt sometime in his career.
At some point. 2 balls, 2 strikes now on Sanders.
I'm sure the Red Sox were wondering about Bagwell. That was a pretty good Astros trade.
Yeah, Larry Anderson. Here's a 2-2. Still 2-2. The Apostles of the Sacred Heart are in attendance with almost 500 family and friends from the different ministries. And serving the people of St. Louis for over 90 years. They're here, as well as Father Francis from St. Mary's St. Mark's of Madison, Illinois, celebrating birthday number 60. 2-2 on Reggie Sanders, hitting .258. Shattered bat, and that foul will end up in the dugout. That's the familiar pose of Matt Morris, Dave Duncan, and I'm sure Mike Matheny is not far away. Although he's got to be on deck. When he's not getting ready to hit, he is up on that ledge sitting right next to Morris.
Paul and Candy Umber are here. We've been here the last couple days. I'd like to say hello to all the veterans at the Missouri Veterans Home in Mexico, Missouri.
The pace of Hernandez since the home run has slowed to the point where we are getting all of our little get well wishes and notes in here in the second. Good pitch, 1 out. First strikeout for Carlos Hernandez. College football Saturday returns this week with a triple-header. Northern Illinois battles Iowa State, and 20th ranked Wisconsin takes on Arizona. Immediately following the Pac-10 game, stay tuned for Gateway Football Conference coverage. Western Kentucky taking on Eastern Kentucky. Starting Saturday at 11 a.m. only on FSN Midwest. One ball, no strikes on Matheny. One and one. It's Luna on deck, and Matt Morris, who is ticked off about something. I don't know if it's just the home run that Kent hit in the top of this inning or something else, but Morris has been down there upset. shaking his head.
Well, the last couple games, Joe, he's gotten rid of that bugaboo of giving up runs in the first inning, but sometimes you relax in the second.
A fly ball into center off the bat of Matheny. Beltran, 2 out. And Luna will be the hitter.
It's tough to keep that concentration throughout a game, but you work on the first inning, then you naturally relax a little bit on the second, then you get banged around there. It happened in the last start also.
Morris hoping he gets a chance to hit here in the second. That's up to Luna, who has hit 2 home runs in his rookie year. One of his biggest at bats this year was getting a suicide squeeze bunt down in Houston early in the season to help the Cardinals win an extra inning game and beat the Astros. He's trying to bunt his way on here, and that's just not a good play. Got the pitcher coming up, and Luna pops out to end the inning trying to bunt. Cardinals cut the lead in half. We move into the 3rd inning, and Matt Morris will take that fire and brimstone he has with him tonight that he's been showing down in the dugout, back out to the mound with him.
Joe, there's been several times when Matt has been hit, and there's only 2 hits, 2 innings.
This is Hernandez, the pitcher, and that is out number 1.
And now he's got 3 consecutive ground balls. That's what Matt needs to acquire. That, you know, they feel like he tips off pitches. And I asked Jeff Bagwell one time. I said, "Does Matt Morris tip off pitches?" He goes, "Yeah." But he tipped off pitches when he won 22 games too. Sometimes
I would imagine, Al, and I think we've talked about this before, and you know better than I, if you start worrying about everything that happens prior to the pitch, and if you're tipping pitches, you run into a wall and you don't pitch.
Absolutely.
At some point, you just got to let it fly.
Muscle memory. You can't go out there and think your way through it.
Biggio, strike 1. We talked last night about the difference between the 2 leadoff hitters. Biggio on the left, obviously, is a guy who has got at least the bottom finger, if not the last 2 fingers, off the end of the bat. Comparing him with more of the slap hitting style of Tony Womack, who is choked up on the bat, just trying to make contact and run. They are very different type leadoff hitters. Biggio's hit 22 home runs. He sticks the bat out and he makes Walker run hard to his left. 2 out.
Biggio's more of an extra power, extra base type guy. You know, terrific doubles man. And Womack just utilizes his running speed by slapping down on the ball. Very accurate description.
This could be an interesting night for the wild card in the National League as we play here on the 15th of September with a couple of weeks left. Really almost 3 weeks left. The Cubs won today, so they're 79-64. Right now they're tied with the Giants, top that race, with the Giants playing and scoreless at Milwaukee in the middle innings. Florida is on their way to dropping a doubleheader at home to Montreal as that series resumed in Florida. They lost the first game 6-2. They're losing the night game 10-4 in the 8th. So that could be a costly couple of games for the Marlins. If the Giants win, they could end up, what, 4 out at the end of the night. That's a big turnaround. Actually 3.5.
3.5.
3-0 now is the count on Beltran with Bagwell on deck. Watch out. 3-1.
Interesting thing too for the Cardinals is we assume they're going to win the Central Division.
Full count on Beltran.
But there's only one game that separates the West and East Division champion right now. So that, you know, you could go down to the final weekend and not know who your opponent is to start the division series.
And as you know, most people know by now, it would be the wild card winner. Cardinals have the best record unless the wild card's from the division, which it could very well be, either Chicago or Houston. Then you would take on the other division winner with a lesser record. Dodgers are 84-60. The Braves are 85-60. Here's a 3-2. Right side, and Womack, a nice play to his left. Inning over. Good play. A long way to get it, and Morris is helped out by his defense there. Off we go into the bottom of the third. Morris, Womack, Walker coming up. 2-1 Houston. History 1950 at Ebbets Field. Cardinal starter Cloyd Boyer hurts his arm while warming up before the game, replaced by Red Munger. The reliever goes the distance, beating the Dodgers. Gets the victory.
Complete game.
Complete game, but not a start.
You know, you probably never met Cloyd, the older of the of the Boyer brothers. I had Cloyd as a pitching coach in Atlanta. Kenny sent me to the big leagues as a manager at Little Rock. I actually roomed with Cleat in Anchorage, Alaska. I said supposedly because he locked me out and I couldn't rouse him to let me in. And I played with Lenny and Double-A at Little Rock.
2-1, 2-2 on Morris. I didn't know they were like the Sutters of the NHL.
Now, Cloyd's the black sheep of the family.
Ken Boyer is one of the beloved Cardinals, the late Ken Boyer, and a guy who on those great teams was known as the captain. When you get that nickname from that group, you obviously play the game the right way.
He was a man's man.
Red guiding those teams. Here is a 3-2 to Matt Morris, and he hits it pretty well into right. Sends Berkman back, but he's there for out number 1. Morris gave that a ride. Matt has 9 hits on the year. I got a chance to know Ken Boyer as a kid hanging around the ballpark. And I could tell even as a young man the kind of respect that he commanded.
Well, I mean, that tells you something right there. Everybody else is in the Hall of Fame.
His number 14 is retired, and you could make the case that he should be in the Hall of Fame.
I had played for Kenny right after he retired.
Breaking ball, strike 1 to Womack.
I really enjoyed him. 2 rules. Be on time, and if there's a fight, you better be on the field.
1 ball, 1 strike. Womack trying to get something going. He had 3 hits last night, and that's going to do the trick. You can put that in your pocket. There's Caino. A 1-out infield single.
That's his 35th infield single, passing Ozzie Smith's total of 33 and 93. So Coleman had 44 and 97 or 87 and 43. But we talked about the difference. These 2 leadoff guys just that choke up, make contact, hit it on the ground, and take off running.
Now Womack will try the move of Carlos Hernandez as Larry Walker steps in. Pujols to follow. Cardinals need a blast. Walker takes a strike. Larry's been hot, 1 for 4 in this series, coming off that great pregame set in LA after sitting out the San Diego series. The 0-1. That's back to Hernandez. Fires to second. Good play for the out. Basically led Kent to the bag. 2 out. And here comes Pujols. 1-4 on the putout. Are you looking to commemorate the incredible 2004 Cardinals season? The St. Louis Post-Dispatch Cardinals pin collection is offering 28 collector's pins for purchase. A different pin released each day starting on September 13th. Take the pin coupon available daily only in the Post-Dispatch to participating retailers throughout the St. Louis area to purchase the one-of-a-kind pins. Pujols takes ball 1. Albert, his first time up, bounced back to the pitcher.
Closing in on 500 career RBIs and 500 runs scored.
Pretty good pitch, 2-0.
Only his 4th season, so lofty numbers. And with a rush, he could be only the 4th Cardinal to have 400 or more total bases The last was Stan Musial in 48.
Here's a 2-0. Good pitch from Hernandez. Tied up Pujols. 2-1. Albert was involved in a little fender bender on the highway earlier this afternoon. I happened to be going the highway going the other way, Highway 40 in Hanley.
That stopped traffic, didn't it?
Well, Jim Edmonds saw it, and Albert's fine, obviously, and everybody else was as well, as he breaks his bat and gets a base hit into center. But Edmonds said, I wonder how long it's going to take for this to get on the news. And right after that, got to the ballpark. Edmonds did, turned on the TV, and there were a couple of helicopters overhead filming the aftermath of that little bump on Highway 40. 2 on with 2 out for Renteria.
This would be a good time to break out of an 0 for 22.
Almost did his first time. He gave a ball a ride out to the track and left, just didn't catch it all. Tying run at second, and another out off the bat of Renteria. Really struggling, and the inning is over. The Cardinals leave 2, have stranded 3. We've played 3, and the Astros lead it 2-1. Cardinals and the Astros wrap up this 3-game set. Tomorrow night, we'll have the game for you right here on FSN Midwest. A matchup of Marquis and Brandon Backey. We're on the air at 6:30 with Cardinals Tonight with Dan McLaughlin. A cast of thousands.
Hey, very special, happy 52nd birthday to Keith Cook from his wife Lisa and 4 kids, Lori, Mike, Tara, and Amy. Keith is celebrating that birthday right behind us.
There's a breaking ball. Good pitch, but ball 1 to Bagwell. We're underway in the 4th inning. Bagwell, Berkman, and Kent. Very good middle of this lineup. Really, the top 5 is as good as you'll get anywhere. 1 ball, 1 strike. Biggio, Beltran, Bagwell, Berkman, Kent.
You find both these teams offensively are very similar. Very explosive.
Here's a 1-1 to Bagwell. 2-1. Too bad the Cardinals do not have Scott Rowland available again tonight. He's not in the starting lineup and still bothered by that calf strain. Cardinals have the luxury. It's the beauty of a huge lead in the division at this time of the year, where you don't have to press a guy into risking further injury by staying in the lineup. So Tony La Russa can make sure that he is healthy heading into the postseason. 3 balls and a strike on Morris, from Morris to Bagwell. Here it is, and it's back toward us. Full count. San Francisco has their hottest starter going tonight, Brett Tomko.
He was 8-2, and he was matched up several times with Randy Johnson.
Still 3-2 on Bagwell. Mentioned last night their closer's Dustin Hermanson, and their lineup is Bonds and then a bunch of guys. Here's a 3-2 pitch to Bagwell. That's out number 1. If Womack or Edmonds can find it. Edmonds' turn. I'm marking it down in 10. 1 out. Good work by Morris to come back from the 3-1 count and get Bagwell. And the batter will be Berkman.
Happy 52nd anniversary to Jim and Shirley Rose, and wishing Shirley a speedy recovery in St. Luke's Hospital from your son Tim.
JT Snow just a 3-run home run for San Francisco, and they lead 3-0 in the 6th at Milwaukee. One out, nobody on. Berkman takes the ball. Sammy Sosa hit 2 home runs today for the Cubs, a grand slam and another home run. The Cubs have to be very concerned with the pitching of Mark Pryor. He has turned into a 5 or 6 inning pitcher this year. Whether he's healthy or not, nobody knows the full story, but he was given a 4-run first inning lead and he gave it right back to Pittsburgh. He is not the same guy. 2 balls and a strike. Kerry Wood has had some disappointing starts in the second half. Really, their most consistent, I guess it shouldn't surprise us, has been Greg Maddux.
The old warrior. Just has the
Zambrano's
ability.
been hit or miss. He's got great stuff, but you don't know. That's foul. 2-2.
I find a lot of these young pitchers today have good stuff, but they don't know how to locate their pitches. And that's one thing that Greg Maddux has the great ability of locating the stuff with less stuff.
The 2-2. Full count. Pop on that fastball from Morris. Another full count, and this time Morris loses the hitter. He got Bagwell for the first out. Now he issues his first walk, and we do a pitch-by-pitch feature, which is brought to you by Chevrolet.
Berkman's a guy you got to be careful with. Got that cutter coming in on him. Misses with a fastball away, working on both sides of the plate. Pitch up in the zone. There's a good breaking ball. Misses down and in. Good breaking ball to Walking.
1 on, 1 out for Kent, to hit a 2-run home run his first time up. 94 RBIs now, 22 home runs. Feel like he's hit half those against the Cardinals this year. Ball 1 in the dirt.
Not sure really where that location was, but a lot of times, pitchers throw pitches on the inside part of the plate, and because you don't hit very many, you have a tendency to miss over the middle of the plate. That's the cheapest place to hit the ball out of the ballpark, and it couldn't be any cheaper than the distance that Kent hit on his 2-run home run.
1 ball, 1 strike on Kent. Lamb will follow. Breaking ball was sitting up, and Kent almost came out of his shoes. It's 1-2. Dangerous pitch, and Morris just got away with it. Kent, who has put up staggering numbers in his career while playing defensively at second base, waits for a 1-2. Takes ball 2. Runner at first, 1 out, 2-2 pitch. High fly ball into left will send Sanders back for out number 2. The guy who's tied with Rogers Hornsby and Ryan Sandberg for the most 30-plus homer seasons by a second baseman came close to hitting another. 2 out. It's going to be fun to watch that battle in the NL West. San Francisco will head home this weekend, and they tangle with San Diego. 2 teams that are alive and well in their division and in the wild card race.
Phil Nevin's trying to keep the Padres in almost single-handedly.
Cubs will be in Cincinnati. And then they go to Florida for a doubleheader on Monday. 1 ball, 1 strike. Mike Lamb at the plate. Runner at first is Berkman. 2 out. Lamb is at 12 home runs, hitting .300. 2-1 from Morris. The Cardinals in the bottom of this 4th will have Edmonds, Sanders, and Matheny, with Luna scheduled 4th. Lamb, a minor leaguer with the Texas Rangers, spent some time with the Yankees during the spring. They got Alex Rodriguez, and here he is with Houston, and they are thrilled to have him. Now it's 2-2. Cardinals will continue their homestand after Houston leaves. Following tomorrow night's game, they'll host Arizona. Here's a 2-2. That should end the inning as Luna goes back. Did a nice job for out number 3. A walk in the inning to Berkman. Morris pitches around it. Bottom of the fourth. 2-1 Houston.
All by arriving at the game in your new Ford Explorer with up to $5,500 cash back or 0% APR for 60 months. It's a smart way to get to the game. Only at your Quality Ford stores. Your home run to Cardinal baseball fun.
This guy hit a home run his first time up. Jim Edmonds, 42nd on the year, 108 RBIs.
He's 2 away from tying his career high.
A fastball for a strike. Or was it 79 miles an hour? I guess not, but it was up, and Edmonds didn't jump on it. Sanders will follow, and then Matheny reaching for it, and Hernandez makes the play. From one extreme to the other. Opposite field home run to a little ground ball hit in front of the mound. Here's Sanders.
Happy 72nd birthday to Bernard Young from Seymour, Iowa, from his family.
Reggie tonight struck out.
Saving one, Joe, because it's going all the way to South Korea.
Choose your spot well. Sanders with 1 out, takes ball 1.
Let him wake up.
Boston leads at home over Tampa Bay 6-4 in the 6th inning. Bottom half. Lescanic is pitching for Boston. He just keeps on pitching.
Yeah.
Pops up one place after another.
Always liked him and never had the career that I thought his stuff indicated.
Sanders waiting for a 1-1 pitch from Hernandez. That's too far inside. 2-1.
I think you'll know where I'm going, but what's the most disappointing thing about Reggie Sanders?
What he's done against left-handed pitching.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he's only a .216 average.
That's just low. 3-1, and that's surprising because he's had a lot of chances against left-handed pitching. That's really when a left-hander pops up. Tony La Russa puts Sanders down first.
3 of his 22 home runs have come against southpaws.
That is surprising. 3 balls and a strike with 1 out. Reggie takes a walk. That's walk number 2 issued by Hernandez. Tomorrow night, Marquis will try to extend that streak. He's won a career high 11 straight games. He has wins in 13 of his last 21 starts. Marquis has a very good start under his belt this year against Houston in Houston early in the year. Will take on this Astros club. Will it be Houston looking for a sweep or the rubber game of this set? There are 2 beauties, Keith Tkachuk and Doug Waite, hanging out watching Cardinal baseball tonight. Have you been following the NHL labor situation?
A little bit.
There's Allison Waite, blacktop, and I don't know Keith's wife's name, but they get a direct ticket to heaven. Those 2, putting up with the other 2. A check on Reggie Sanders. Sanders has got a shot to steal a base, and this really would be the time to do it if Sanders could figure out Hernandez. Reggie has stolen 18, been caught only 3 times. You got Matheny and then Luna, the next 2 hitters. Off-speed pitch for strike 1.
I know the lockout is tonight at 11:01 St. Louis time, and most people are predicting it's going to be a lengthy one. Something's got to give. They don't have a television contract that's worth anything.
No, it's basically a partnership deal. The 0-1. That's going to be close. And Sanders either beat it or just got around the tag by Bagwell. Chavez, the catcher, almost caught him straying too far.
Good snap throw, and Watch Bagwell's, as he looked like Reggie started losing his balance. I'm not too sure he was safe. Pretty close, but Bagwell just put the tag down to the bag and hoped he would slide right into it.
Chantel Kachuk, that's her name, and Allison Wade.
I talked to Chantel on the phone.
Really?
Yes. Looking for
Keith,
the man of the house, Keith.
Here's a 1-1 to Matheny. 1 on, 1 out. Cardinals down by a run, and they are going to pay attention to Sanders. This would be a spot to get one if he could get a jump.
You know, Keith is watching that Boston score up there as they're leading 6-4 against Tampa Bay after 5 innings.
Here's a 1-1. Matheny hits a foul. I would imagine at this time of the year, for a guy like Mike Matheny, with the wear and tear on the body and the amount of playing time he's had, if anybody's prepared for it, it's Matheny, but it's got to be tough rolling out of bed in the morning. That body has gone through a lot this season.
But you know, nobody's better prepared for it than he is, and it seems like his workload has increased.
Still 1-2. Luna will follow, and Matheny would like to deliver Hector. Good RBI opportunity. Cardinals down 2-1. They've out hit Houston 3-2. A 2-run shot by Kent in the second. A solo blast by Edmonds in the second. That's it. Sanders ought to have a pretty good read on Hernandez by now. Little Brett Tomko throwing a 2-hit shutout for San Francisco at Milwaukee. 3-0 Giants in the 7th. Here's the 1-2. 2-2. We talked about it earlier. The fastball for Hernandez is topped out in this game at 88, 89 miles an hour. He used to be 93, 94.
Right. But coming back from the shoulder surgery, he probably will increase a couple miles next year.
A 2-2. That's into right center field. Is it well placed? You bet. That's going to tie the game. Reggie Sanders will score. Matheny delivers. It's 2-2.
Joe, I was going to say that when with diminished velocity, that changeup is not as effective as it used to be. And this ball was hanging up there off speed, and Mike does a good job of going with the pitch, splits the outfielders out in right center, and Reggie circles the bases.
Now Luna could put the Cardinals on top for the first time tonight. Cardinals had a short lead last night. It disappeared the next half inning. Hector has driven in 18 as a rookie. An average of 222, tried to bunt his way on in the second and hit a little soft liner back to the pitcher. 0-2 on Luna. Morris on deck. Not happy with that last swing is Hector Luna.
Out in front on the off-speed pitch.
And that keeps him alive. 0-2.
See if Hernandez doesn't get him to try and chase a pitch.
Here is the 0-2. And that almost caught Hector. 0-1. The Cardinals have survived the season with Hector Luna having to keep him on their roster all year. Selected as a Rule 5 pick in the Indians organization, and he has contributed from time to time. He has been a nice addition to this team. He strikes out for the second out and leaves it up to Morris. Second strikeout for Hernandez, and Matt will try to knock in his 7th run of the season. Morris hit it deep into right his first time up, but it was caught by Berkman back near the track. Ball one high. Morris got his first career big league hit at Houston. 1 ball, 1 strike. Remember when he first came up and we were talking to him in the dugout, we said, well, what kind of hitter are you? He said, I'm terrible. I can't hit at all. And then he got a hit in either his first or second at bat at Houston. We thought he was just playing tricks on us, but I'm starting to believe him. Here's a 1-1. He can come up with some big hits, and he certainly has over his career as a Cardinal. Good pitch there by Hernandez, 1-2.
You mentioned he's already driven in 6 runs this year. Has 9 hits on the season.
60 at bats.
At least battle you.
And that hurt.
Speed pitch, and he fouled it off his front foot.
Morris trying to bring home Matheny, who's tied the game with an RBI double after the walk to Sanders. Mike would like to run. 2 balls, 2 strikes with Womack on deck.
What's your gut feeling about where Matt Morris will be next year?
I think the odds are against him being back here. He has always been one of my favorites as a guy and as a pitcher. And really a sharp, clever guy that I think has a lot to offer, more than just pitching. I just don't know if they'll be able to get together on dollars to make his stay as a Cardinal continue. Here's a 3-2. Morris strikes out. Good pitch down and in from Hernandez, and that'll do it. We're back to where we started. All knotted up. 2-2 after 4. It's a 2-2 game as we go to the 5th inning. Matt Morris will go back to work. Vizcaíno, Chavez, the catcher, and then Hernandez. Bottom 3 in the order for Houston. Cardinals will have the top half, the bottom of the 5th inning. Top 3 at least. Womack, Walker, and Pujols. What's on tap brought to you by Budweiser. Grab a cold fresh Budweiser. It's game time tomorrow. Dan will be on the air at 6:30 with Cardinals tonight. Al and I will have the game just after 7 on FSN Midwest. Brandon Backey against Jason Marquis. Hopefully it'll be the rubber game of the series, and that's up to Morris and Hernandez and these hitters, and probably these bullpens.
Conceivably, if the Cardinals win tonight, tomorrow, and Friday night, the Cubs lose a couple games, we almost got to throw Houston in there too, because they're only a half game behind if the Cubs lost a couple.
Vizcaíno chops the first pitch up the middle. Good play by Womack. He was ready, waiting, and in the end very able to make the play to his right. 1 out.
We could have a little celebration on Friday night.
That seems to be. I'm picking Friday night. Friday night or Saturday, I think.
Well, the problem is now is the Cardinals would have to win every game. The Cubs and Astros would have to lose. Cubs would have to lose every game. The Astros would be out.
Well, the Cardinals, if they win here tonight, their magic number will be a 4. If they were to win tomorrow night, just taking matters into their own hands, it's down to 3 no matter what the Cubs do. And then you can whittle it away depending on what the Cubs do in their series coming up against Cincinnati. But Friday is possible. Saturday is possible, and hopefully it will happen at the very latest on Sunday before the Cardinals head to the road. 0-2 is the count on Chavez, the catcher, who is a 200 hitter. Still 0-2. Cardinals have a very rested bullpen. ready for this game tonight after last night, using some of the others, not the usuals, out of the bullpen. That's a breaking ball foul. Ray King is raring to go. Talked to Steve Klein before tonight's game, and he thinks next week he'll be back on the mound. I said, realistically, are you not just saying that? Yeah. And King was sitting there. He said, come on, Steve, I need you. Get back. That's ball one.
But as you said, because of the game getting lopsided early, they went to secondary pitchers, and so the guys that you would think or have been here for the duration of the season were spelled.
Last night it was Reyes, Cali,
Herron,
and Danny Herron. It was very good, by the way. 3 shutout innings from Herron. The work by that trio gave the Cardinals a chance to make it a game in the night, which they did. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Chavez, the catcher. He grounded out to third his first time up. Good breaking ball, maybe the best of the night from Morris. And that from Matt is his second strikeout of the night. Our hot pitch of the game is brought to you by Hardee's. A couple of strikes from Matt Morris.
Well, Matt Morris is starting to execute his pitches. Look at that rotation on that pitch right there, and now you finish him off with a strikeout. So a couple Hardee's hot pitches.
Hernandez makes a strike. 1 out of 9. This guy looks like he knows how to hit.
He's a switch hitter.
0-2.
0 for 6 from the right side, or excuse me, from the left side. There you see the variance of speed. 25-mile-an-hour difference. That's pitching. Hard to adjust.
Hard hit. 1 hop. Womack inning over. A 1-2-3 frame from Morris, who is still only allowed 2 hits. It's 2-2. As we go to the bottom of the 5th, top of the order. The baseball game of the week is back, and it's right here in St. Louis. The Arizona Diamondbacks taking on the St. Louis Cardinals. And as we told you last night a couple of times, and we hope to remind you a couple of times before then, that game has been changed from your schedule to 3 o'clock, from 3 o'clock to 12:20. 12:20 start time on Saturday. Cardinals and the Diamondbacks. Here's Womack, and there's a strike in a 2-2 game. Bottom of the 5th. That Saturday matchup is Chris Carpenter against Casey Fossum, a left-hander who is 4-13 with an ERA of 7. They start to get loose out in the Houston bullpen. 1 ball, 1 strike on Womack, who's 1 for 2 and 4 out of 5 in this series. Foul ball, strike 2. Womack, at this point in the season, leading off, is standing at the plate for the 495th time. 495 times he's been looking at big league pitching, even more with the walks, and his average is 306. His average is going to be 305 as he flies into left for Biggio. 1 out. Hernandez has been good tonight.
90 on the top, 68 on the low speed. Remember, this is only his 7th start since having shoulder surgery and missing all of last year, so he's been averaging right around 5 innings per start.
Larry Walker, with 14 home runs on the year, takes the ball. I don't know how many people are aware that Larry Walker is under contract for next year.
Oh yeah, and it's a big one.
So in case you're wondering if this is a pennant drive rental, that's not the case for Walker. He'll be back next season. Counts 2-0. You know what he's thinking. Hernandez blew it right by him with another 90-mile-an-hour fastball. 2-1.
Paul Jocketty and his relationship with ownership of Colorado was key. Also one of his big lieutenants.
That's foul.
Bob Gephardt, and you know, you've got to wonder about Edgar Renteria and all the needs that they have, is there's going to be X amount of dollars. There's Bob Gephardt on right here. He was the general manager in Colorado when Larry went there, and Walt was his assistant. Now they're reversed roles, but Bob Gephardt was very instrumental in landing Larry Walker and getting the Colorado Rockies to kick in $9 million.
Here is another 2-2 pitch to Larry Walker. Hard hit, but right at the shortstop. Vizcaíno stays down on it. 2 out.
Only so much money available, and a lot of players trying to divvy it up.
I know they have made some early offers, and it was for big money. The question is, what's in Edgar's mind? What will it take to keep him a Cardinal? There's obviously a dollar figure where he gets what he thinks he deserves, or what his agent thinks he deserves, and if that dollar figure is higher than the Cardinals can pay, goodbye. About that simple. With 2 out, nobody on, Albert. 1 ball, 1 strike.
And Joe, you know, a lot of the Cardinal players have been very good to Walt and ownership by deferring money, but at some point that comes due too.
A lot of the contracts that the Cardinals signed over the offseason are bigger next year than they were this year.
Sure.
Here's a 1-1. Pujols takes high.
Now like Jason Marquis is eligible for arbitration.
Supon's money is more next year. Sanders' money is more next year.
All of them.
2-1. 3-1 with Edgar on deck. But there's not a more well-liked guy in that Cardinal clubhouse than Edgar Renteria, a more respected player. Here's a 3-1. It was not the 3-1 fastball, and Albert took it for a full count. They don't come any better than Edgar Renteria. Hopefully he will stay around. 3-2. Hard hit, but right at Lamb, the third baseman. The Cardinals go in order. Top of the order now will bat for Houston. 6th inning rolls in. Biggio, Beltran, Bagwell coming up against Morris. It's 2-2. Beautiful night in St. Louis. Matt Morris is back to work, and this will be a tester inning for him. 6th inning, 2-2 game. Top of the order for Houston. Strike 1 starts the 6th inning.
The products of Seton Hall going head to head right now.
The 0-1. That's foul. 0-2. Again, we told you Tony La Russa was talking about the number of at-bats that this Houston team has as a group, their history against Matt Morris. And some good averages against him. Trying to get through the 6th inning. He's allowed only 2 hits. And that will continue. That might be an error as the ball came up on Renteria. It is still only 2 hits, but an error starts the 6th inning, and watch out. That took a bad hop, and now Beltran will be the hitter.
Sent there by Renteria, and he comes up on him. He's squared up to the ball, so it stays in the vicinity, but with Biggio's running speed, he can't make the play. Renteria's 2nd best fielding percentage in the National League for shortstops.
Here's Beltran, 0 for 2 with a strikeout and a ground out. Biggio started over at first. He took off. He's stolen 7 bases. He came back. And he counts 1-0. So Morris gives him a look.
And time his lead coming off the bag. Maybe not paying attention, and you can get an easy out.
A 1-0, 2-0. Looks like San Francisco will stay in front of Chicago in the wild card race. They lead 5-0 in the 8th in Milwaukee. Here's a 2-0 pitch. 3-0. Beltran has hit 23 home runs, driven in 50. 266 average. Runner goes, and Beltran hits it into right. That'll stay in the park, and Biggio will come back. That's a big turn of events right there. The runner was going. It was a 3-0 pitch, and Beltran makes an out. 1 on, 1 out.
Earlier when Matt Morris tried to throw over there and catch him as he's taking a lead, look at the lead, and he just timed that perfectly to take advantage and get a much bigger lead off the pitcher. Talk all the time about how stolen bases are off the pitcher, not the catcher.
1 on, 1 out for Bagwell. That's foul. And Biggio at this point in his career is more the type guy that has to time it perfectly. As we said, he's only stolen 7 this year. Oh, 1 the count on Bagwell, who's 0 for 2. Good pitch, 0-2. Bank of America higher standards. The numbers for Bagwell here at Busch Stadium. 13 home runs in 88 games, 57 RBIs. That's a lot. 296 average.
Worn that uniform very well, hadn't he? 14 straight opening day assignments.
Jammed him, and that's into right for Walker. 1 on, 2 out. And that's up to Berkman for Houston.
Biggio has 16 opening day assignments.
Good pitch there by Morris to jam Bagwell.
Sinking action. Two-seam fastball coming in on him, moving downward, jams him.
Here is Berkman.
5 for 6 in the series and a walk.
Here's an 0-1. Berkman hits it to the right side. Womack can't make a play. Gets by his glove. And that'll bring Jeff Kent to the plate with a chance to untie it with a hit. Womack just missed it altogether. He got there, but missed it. It's a base hit. And the 3rd hit of the night for Houston.
Hit hard. Tony's made some nice plays in this game, but just couldn't come up with that one. On by him into right field. It really looked like Walker was worried about some kind of a snaking action of the ball in the outfield grass and got down on one leg to kind of protect it. This is the guy right here that seemed like every time Matt makes a bad pitch, Kent is at the receiving end of it.
2 on with 2 out. Jeff Kent takes low. In the second, a hit by Berkman that got by Womack, and a 2-run homer by Kent. Kent fly to deep left his last time up. He's 1 for 2. And after an error to start this inning and a 2-out hit, here is Kent again. And there's a fly ball to right. And away Matt Morris. Good outing here tonight. Walker puts it away. Only 3 hits for the Astros. Cards come to bat, bottom of the 6th. Renteria, Edmonds, Sanders coming up. Still 2-2. Here to stop Michael Vick. Coming up tonight. Right after this game, Renteria goes up and after 1, strike 1.
No, you're a good American, Joe. Did you take care of duty today?
What kind of setup is that? What if I say no, then I'm not a good American?
3rd quarter, estimated taxes.
I'm on top of it every month. Here's an 0-1. 1 ball, 1 strike on Renteria. Cardinals get Rick Ankiel up, and he could make his Busch Stadium debut.
Probably wasn't supposed to pitch till tomorrow.
That's what Tony said last night, but they've moved it up evidently. That's a strike. 1 and 2. that hurdle out of the way. That's still in front of Ankiel, pitching here in front of the home crowd. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Renteria, first up, and that's just inside. Hernandez has to be pleased, and the Astros have to be pleased with the way he's worked tonight.
Interesting, though, you get him up at this time.
Here's a 2-2. Still 2-2. Morris has been on a roll. Hernandez is knocking on the door for 100. Morris is only at 89 pitches.
That's why I'm saying it's interesting.
Here's a 2-2 to Edgar. He checked his swing. No, he did not. And Renteria lets the frustration show by flipping his bat at the plate. I don't blame him looking at that live, but the first base umpire, Field and Colbreth, says have a seat. 4th strikeout for Hernandez.
Well, you're 0 for 24. And he probably did go around, but
not happy.
Not happy. Well, not happy.
Nice to see an umpire not have his eyes follow the guy into the dugout.
He's still kind of glancing over there, but you know, at least he's letting it go.
Edmonds rolls 1 to second for Kent. First 2 here in the 6th, they're gone. Sanders will bat with the bases empty. He's 0 for 1. This copyrighted telecast presented by authority of the St. Louis Cardinals LLC may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of the game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals LLC.
Florida did drop a doubleheader.
It appears they will be 3.5 out. It's a costly afternoon against the Expos. Sanders strike 1.
That's why sometimes it's easier to play teams that are in contention than to play the teams that are playing for pride and underdog status and trying to be the spoiler, because they have nothing to lose. They're supposed to beat them.
Sanders has hit 22 home runs this season, in case you're wondering. He has struck out, walked, and scored tonight. 1 ball, 1 strike. He scored after a walk, reaching on a walk in the 4th on an RBI double by Matheny.
When was his last?
His last home run?
Yeah.
Can't tell you.
How about over the weekend against Gagne?
That's right. Here's a 1-1. It's low. 2 balls and a strike.
This probably will be his last inning of work for Hernandez. Pitch count over 100. And
tied up Sanders, and Sanders says, check that ball. 2-2. They don't check it.
Tony Randazzo goes already giving it back to him. Awkward swing there as he was locked up inside.
Reggie Sanders with a count of 2-2. That's a broken bat fly ball into left. The inning is over. We go to the 7th inning now. Matt Morris will head back to work. It's still 2-2 Astros and Cardinals. Put a Ted Drew's frozen custard taste right now. College is back in session, and the Cards have a special deal for all students and faculty members. College night is this Friday against Arizona. You can buy terraced reserve tickets for just $10. You can call the Cardinals for more information at 314-425-0600. College/university night.
See a big sign, bed sheet hanging over. SEMO at least on there. They're rooting for the Cardinals.
Here is Mike Lamb, the third baseman, first up, and that is strike 1. Lamb will be followed by Vizcaíno and then Chavez, the catcher. There is action for the Astros in their bullpen, and that should probably be it no matter what for Carlos Hernandez. And Wheeler, a former New York Met, is getting loose.
They're very pleased with him.
Here's an 0-1. 1 ball, 1 strike. The guy the Astros got when they basically gave Richard Hidalgo to the Mets is no longer with the ball club.
David Weathers.
Here's a 2-1.
I didn't understand that one.
Here is a 3-1 to Mike Lamb. That's no good. A leadoff walk here in the 7th. Second walk issued by Morris. And the batter is Vizcaino. See how the Astros want to play this with Vizcaino.
Down to the last 4 batters in your batting order. You got to dominate this part. Matt has to this point in the game. They're 0 for 8. Now with a walk. Haven't seen a double play.
Will they bunt? Vizcaino showed it on ball 1.
Matt has a chance to finish this game, or probably maybe with the indication they had Ankiel up last inning that this could be his last inning. They're kind of rushing it. Step off, step out, step off. One of them's going to
do something.
That's a call from the bench, just sort of a tactic to kind of see whether the bunt's on, see if you get that runner to dictate or give away something.
Vizcaino's been around too long to fall into that trap. Is he going to bunt? Yes, and he missed it. 1 ball, 1 strike. People talk about who the MVP is on this Cardinal club. I think we have seen a different looking team the last handful of games without Scott Rowland in that lineup. And that's not to say it doesn't discount anything Pujols or Edmonds or anybody else has done this year. This to me is Rowland's year as Vizcaino takes a strike. 1 and 2. And if I had to pick a guy because he plays third and because the way he plays the game and the kind of hustle he brings this season, that guy would be my Cardinal MVP and might be my league MVP.
It's hard to go wrong, but yet it is a valid argument when you sit there and say with the Cardinals having the big 3 and really a terrific offense, and you got to put in Renteria, and you got to put Walker, contribution of Womack, Sanders is what they plugged away, and Matheny, whoever. But if you take away Bonds or Beltre from those teams, and where are they?
The Giants are forgotten about.
They're forgotten about, and Beltre is carrying his hits. Home runs are either tying or go-ahead home runs, and runs scored. And you could probably talk to 100 Cardinal fans, and probably 33% would say Scott, 33 with Albert, and 33 would be Edmonds.
2-2 pitch. Vizcaino strikes out. 1 on, 1 out. Vizcaino can't advance the runner, and that's 3 strikeouts for Matt Morris.
And going down and away and getting the swing over the top. Now Matheny coming out to talk to him as they're going to send up, looks like a pinch hitter.
Chavez, the catcher, is going to be lifted, and the former Cardinal, Orlando Palmeiro, will be the hitter. 1 on, 1 out here in the 7th in a 2-2 game. Go ahead run at first on a leadoff walk to Lamb. And Palmeiro is at 240 this season. Very good pinch hitter a year ago with the Cardinals. And this season as a pinch hitter, 13 out of 55, 1 pinch hit home run, and 4 RBIs. 1 on, 1 out. Time call.
Joe, if I were to pick the Cardinals MVP, Obviously, the first half, Scott Rowland locked it up. But he's really tailed off some in the second half. And I'm not talking about now that he's injured. But Jim Edmonds may be the second half MVP. But overall, I might have to give it to Pujols because of his consistency throughout the whole year.
That's a good answer. Strike one is into Palmeiro.
And Jimmy and Scott Rowland get bonus points for their defense, but Albert Pujols has played very, very solid defense himself.
Here's the 0-1. Palmeiro trying to bunt. That's strike two. He's trying to bunt for a hit, obviously, and now he's in the hole 0-2.
We really enjoyed our time when Palmeiro was with the Cardinal Ball Club and getting to know his family. Another class act. I think he'll walk away with a very strong impression of St. Louis and the Cardinal fans, and vice versa. Look at how shallow they are in left field. Reggie Sanders playing close to in.
Palmeiro now is in battle mode, trying to get a piece of these what are now 0-2 pitches from Morris.
A lot of room in left center and right center. See if they keep the ball away from him. Breaking ball.
Palmeiro grounds it through the right side. An 0-2 pitch. Lamb will hold at second. 2 on, 1 out. That pitch stayed up too long, and it's 2 on, 1 out. And Morgan Ensberg, another pinch hitter, coming up.
I think that's the case, Joe, as the ball hung up, as it kind of stays up there and is able to adjust and hook it and pull it through the right side. Holding the runner on has a lot to do with it.
Numbers on Hernandez: 6 innings for Carlos Hernandez. 2 runs on 4 hits, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts, and a home run allowed.
Nobody warming up in the Cardinals bullpen, so this is Matt's inning to finish. And hopefully, for Matt's sake, be in line for his 16th victory.
Pitcher spot is due up third in the bottom of the inning, but at this time of the year, that's not as big a concern with the expanded roster.
And we already warmed up Ankiel last inning.
Runners on at first and second. Here's a chance for the Astros. And a check swing. He went. Oh, Fielding Colbreth is ringing him up down there. Strike one. Somewhere. Edgar Renteria is smiling.
Ensberg has been having trouble with his back.
There's a good pitch. 0-2. Now, what'd you say about the double play?
That we had not seen one.
Not seen one all night.
All night from either side.
Just in case Cardinal infield is.
Just in case Matt wanted to induce one, which he's second best in the National League in doing so.
Ensberg wants time. He's hitting .276, 8 homers, 58 RBIs. And now Matheny and Morris have battled on pitch selection at times tonight. They're going to talk about it. 32,000 plus at the park tonight, 29 last night, so we're getting better as we go. Morgan Ensberg in his career against Matt Morris, 2 out of 10. If you don't get a double play, though, you still have to face Biggio, who's on deck. That keeps Ensberg alive. It caught a piece of Matheny. Al, you don't even have to bother with Biggio if you get a double play.
What is the? How do you get a double play, Joe?
It's 2 for the price of 1. Pitcher's best friend. That breaking ball stayed up.
As breaking ball is starting to get up, a sign of maybe possibly tiring a little bit, but Matt is conditioned to throw well over 100 pitches. How about a sinker? That sinker to get that good ground ball.
Up the middle, Womack haven't turned one all night until now. Thing may be finished. Likely is. He's due up third in the bottom of the seventh. Bank of America higher standards. The old double play as Matt Morris followed the strikeout of Vizcaíno, giving up a hit and then getting this. Came up beautifully, didn't it?
Yeah. Nice play by Tony Womack. He's made some nice plays. So we've got that double play, and we've also got a Killian Patrick signing. Congratulations to Kathy and Patrick Horton on their birth of their baby. And here's Dan Wheeler.
Our call to the bullpen brought to you by the St. Louis Renaissance Grand Hotel, the official hotel of FSN Midwest.
Acquired from Houston from the Mets in exchange for minor league Adam Seuss.
Strike one on Matheny, who has the last Cardinal RBI. Brad Ausmus, after Chavez was lifted for a pinch hitter, is now catching. Oh, and 1 on Mike. Breaking ball in for strike 2. The RBI was the 43rd of the season for Matheny in the fourth that tied the game. Scored Sanders all the way from first. Ball 1.
Yeah, Mike Matheny hit a home run in support of Matt Morris in that 2-hit shutout that he threw against the Dodgers.
I like the way you think. Matheny's hit 4 on the year, hitting .248. He strikes out. Good pitch by Wheeler. And there's a baseball out on that warning track out there.
It's out left field. Now the left fielder is going to retrieve it.
Batter will be Hector Luna with Roger Cedeno on deck. Morris's night is finished, and he pitched well. 7 innings, 2 runs, and only 4 hits. Strike 1 on Luna. Now Matt can relax, and Chris Carpenter, who isn't scheduled to pitch until Saturday against Arizona, is nearby with Kiko Calero getting loose for the 8th. The Astros will have the top of their order. Luna hits it into deep left field. Back is Biggio, still going, and he misplayed it. Ground rule double, and that ball should have been caught.
Absolutely, Joe. He came in a step. He had a wrong approach on it, and then he kind of drifted back on the ball, and it kept on carrying over his head. But his initial step was in, and then he kind of drifted back on this ball, and it gets over his head, bounces off the warning track and over the wall for a ground rule double. Here's the drift, and just over his outstretched glove.
Luna's got some pop in that bat. Not that that ball was drilled, but it appears that's going to be the end of the night for Wheeler, as Phil Garner is going to make a pitching change. It appears. Mike Gallo, a left-hander, is getting loose, and you've got Cedeno announced as the pinch hitter, and then Womack, and now they're going to call the third base umpire, the crew chief Tim McClelland, in. And I'm wondering if either A, there's something wrong with Wheeler, doubt that, the trainer didn't come out, or B, there was some issue as to whether Cedeno had been announced as the pinch hitter yet.
I think that was probably the latter.
Cedeno, a switch hitter, is still coming out toward the on-deck circle, and Gallo by the St. Louis Renaissance Grand Hotel, the official hotel of FSN Midwest. It's the left-hander, Mike Gallo.
Mike Gallo, you see, appearing for the 63rd time, ERA nearly 5. Opponents are batting almost 300 against him, and that's what it is, left to right. Left-hander batters 301, right-handers 291. Call from AAA on April the 13th. Just made 3 games with the Zephyrs, including 1 save, but Phil Garner made a comment to me that kind of indicated he's not real pleased with his left-handed relief.
We send our very best to Jackie Reese, longtime Cardinal fan. And Glenn Keepy, getting 70 years old, from Festus, Missouri. We send a salute to Glenn's way. Right now, Roger Cedeno would like to excite these Cardinal fans. 32,000 plus, a 2-2 game with the Astros, trying to get the magic number down to 4. Go ahead run at second, 1 out. Strike 1 on Cedeno as Gallo got it in there at 91.
Cardinals can get some runs this inning. Matt would be in line for his 16th victory.
It's Cedeno now. It's Womack on deck.
Turn Cedeno around where he only bats 160.
1 ball, 1 strike.
Kind of a little funky delivery from Gallo at the end of it. He kind of collapses the back knee and throws the hand down. It's a little deceptive when you only see a guy for such a brief appearance.
On 1-1, Cedeno pops it foul out of play. Strike 2.
.270 hitter Cedeno, 10 for 37 as a pinch hitter with 1 home run. 160 from the right side and 276 from the left, but 314 with runners in scoring position.
The 1-2 just missed, down and away. 2-2. The Cardinals have never led in this game. They trailed 2-0 in the second after a home run by Kent. Got a homer from Edmonds, tied it in the 4th on a double by Matheny. We're in the 7th. 2-2 pitch. Full count. Matt Morris hoping for some runs. He's the pitcher of record at the moment. Now a 3-2 pitch. Cedeno hits it toward the Astros dugout. Thanks to that netting in front of where the players stand, somebody just saved the bruise on their gut. Wheeler, who just came out of the game. Wheeler went a 1/3 of an inning, 1 strikeout, 1 hit. It was the double, misplayed double, off the bat of Luna over the head of Biggio and left. Another 3-2 pitch from Gallo. In the air to right center field. Berkman on the move is there for out number 2. 2 down, and it's up to Womack. Cardinal Baseball is a production of Bud Sports and is an exclusive presentation of FSN Midwest. See if Womack can do it. He's driven in 35 runs this season. The Astros in the 8th will have Biggio, Beltran, and Bagwell against Kiko Calero, who's had so long to warm up. He sat down and now he's warming up again. It's not a small note with regard to the base running of Luna. If that ball gets over the head of Berkman, Luna walks home.
Yeah.
Luna could have tagged and moved to 3rd, which is big with a speed guy like Womack at the plate in case he chops it on the infield. 2 out in the inning. And takes a hit out of the infield to untie it. That would have helped. 2-0.
Especially if it's at 3rd base and that ball was got by Osmus, who is the equivalent of Mike Matheny for Houston. Lot of times off a left-hander throwing a breaking ball, you just get a weird bounce going to your left, and a lot of time it has a reverse spin.
3-0 on Womack with Larry Walker on deck. If you are Phil Garner, that would frustrate you with a left-handed relief. If Womack gets on, a free pass to get to Walker. But Gallo's smart. He knows.
Well, I saw that the numbers are left-handers hit for a higher average off of Gallo.
3-1.
Tony working the count. The more pitches you see, the more times you'll make a mistake. Looking for that walk or a pitch like that last one and shoot it to left field.
Here's a 3-1. Womack was trying to do just that. Full count. Defensively, they are probably a little too deep on the corners in the outfield.
I wondered about that too. With 2 outs and Womack up.
Go ahead run at second. Womack grounds to Kent. Hustling all the way, and he is just out to end the inning. So the Astros get around the misplay by Biggio and left. We go to the 8th, and we're still tied. Fox Saturday Baseball is right here as the Cardinals host the Arizona Diamondbacks. The other big game, the Red Sox and the Yankees. It all starts at noon Central. Remember, the game time has been changed from 3 to 12:20 on Saturday. Call to the bullpen is brought to you by the St. Louis Renaissance Grand Hotel. It's Kiko Calero taking over from Matt Morris and about to face the top of this good Houston lineup.
See, 2 pitches thrown on Sunday and not a very good outing for him, but a couple days rest. One of our favorites, and had that little stint on the disabled list. Pitched very effectively in a couple outings for Memphis before being activated on the expanded rosters here with the Cardinals. And it's very key to kind of come up with, you look at the bullpen configuration for postseason, Joe. It'd be very difficult to take one of the starters out of the rotation and not have him on the active roster. It could happen, but
he is so deceptive. This is what he does. This is what he has done all year for the Cardinals, is pitch out of the bullpen and try to get some late inning outs. That's foul. Yeah, I kind of think whichever starter is not in the rotation for that first round will probably just be inactive.
Well, it's very difficult to do that, you know, to someone, but you know, Tony and Dave Duncan will explain the situation and said just because the first round you're inactive.
Here you go. Yes. Field and Culbreth gets another over at first. 1 out.
That's what we like about Kiko. He's so deceptive, as you said. He short arms the ball. He kind of pushes it out of his uniform, especially wearing the home jersey, that you can see a lot of good hitters that have awkward swings against him.
This guy scares you a bit. Home run threat to be sure. 23 since joining the Astros.
38 overall on the season and 101 RBIs. Combine his Kansas City days with Houston.
Good zip to that fastball. Strike 1. Kiko sneaked it in there on him. Breaking ball misses. A ball and a strike. The Cardinals in the bottom of this 8th will have Walker, Pujols, and Renteria if anybody gets on Edmonds. How nice would it be to be 2-2 going into the bottom of this inning? That's up to Kiko.
And I'm sure Carlos is talking about his former Kansas City Royal farmhand. Said, how could this guy never get a shot with the Royals? And that was the case. About 7 years in their system and never got a sniff.
Talking about Kiko Calero. 1-2 is the count. With 1 out and nobody on, Beltran a little number back to the pitcher. Not an easy play. 2 out. Good play.
Good play at the receiving end by Pujols too. I mean, that ball was fired at him.
Handcuffed.
Well, a lot of times, and it kind of was awkwardly caught, but Albert does a nice job of concentrating on it. takes the seed from his pitcher, who bare hands it and holds on to it and gets his foot out of the way before he gets stepped on.
You did the game that day against Pittsburgh, didn't you, when he ended the game by grabbing the ball from Isringhausen with a bare hand? Did you hear that?
Yep.
I mean, you talk about calm and cool. With a game on the line, that's Albert. He made a good play there. 2 out. Kiko Calero is pitching now to Bagwell to stay in the game. Ray King is getting ready with the switch hitting Lance Berkman waiting on deck. The Cardinals would like to turn around and have him bat right-handed. He comes up. Strike 1 on Bagwell.
I remember specifically Bagwell was a hitter one of the first times we ever saw Kiko pitch, and so wait a minute, if he can make this guy look bad, you know, maybe we've got something. And it was some of those sliders to Bagwell that opened our eyes.
Oh, what a good pitch. 0-2. Had some shoulder trouble. He is back. .92 miles per hour, missing for ball 1.
That's his ZZ Tops Billy Goat goatee. Hung down to his below his belt buckle.
Here's a 1-2 from Calero. As he and Matheny try to figure each other out. The big guys are coming up in the bottom of this inning.
Is that pitch we're talking about, the slider?
2-2. Two strikes. Matheny making sure he gets down and blocks that pitch in the dirt.
You might say he doesn't need to with nobody on base, but that was with 2 strikes. It's a free pass, and Mike Matheny's the kind of guy that he would do it even if it was the first pitch of an inning, because good practice makes good perfect positioning when you do need to.
Bagwell, Calero, the 2-2, full count.
That was interesting. Mike called for the slider inside, and Kiko, I agreed with him, shook it off and wanted to throw it away.
Here's a 3-2 pitch and a foul tip to keep this top of the 8th inning alive.
That woke up Mike. That's got to be the closest thing to a whiplash. A foul ball right into the mask.
Kiko trying to have a perfect 8th inning against the top of this lineup. 3-2 pitch. Great work, Kiko Calero. He keeps it 2-2. Bagwell screaming at himself. These Astros fighting for the wild card. The heart of the order coming up for the Cardinals. Walker, Pujols, and Renteria. Anybody gets on? Edmonds. Still 2-2.
You're watching FSN Midwest.
Suntrup Automotive family donates $100 for every Cardinal home run hit to their Win One for the Kids charity fund. Tonight they've had a kick in of Ben Franklin thanks to Jim Edmonds. Back in the second. It looked like this. It was pretty. That made it 2-1. The Cardinals tied it in the 4th on an RBI double by Matheny. We're still 2-2. Russ Springer, who worked last night, is back in there tonight.
Tell you what, he pitched very well, and I talked to him a little bit today, and complimented him on his stuff, but really had off-speed stuff working.
Throwing hard too. Are you surprised at all they didn't leave Gallo out there to face a lefty Walker? As Gallo came on, got Cedeno and then Womack, and he's finished after 2/3 of an inning. Maybe not with those numbers. The 2-1. Good pitch inside corner. 2-2.
I think it's just further indication of how uncomfortable that the Astros are with their left-handed relief, And Springer throwing the ball very well right now, and with these numbers of dominating Walker, why not?
Here's a 2-2. Full count. Pujols will follow. Outfield is deep. Walker has hit 14 home runs. Backing out of play.
You know, the interesting thing is I'm not sure if the outfield is deep enough for a guy like Walker. When you this stage of the game, you don't want anything hit over your head that stays in the park, so you have a tendency to play a little deeper and allow a single in front of you, but nothing over your head, or no doubles allowed.
3 balls, 2 strikes on Larry Walker. Hitless tonight. That should be out number 1 as he pops it up behind short. Is Caino. 1 away.
I know there's a second lieutenant who's celebrating a 25th birthday tonight, stationed at Camp Castle in South Korea, Joshua Henshin. Joshua is an avid and rabid Cardinals fan. He also has his Cardinal STL logo tattooed on his arm. He listens on the internet. He's celebrating his 25th birthday. So happy birthday, Joshua Henshin, and thank you for your service to our great country.
Pujols takes a breaking ball for a strike, and he looks back at the home plate umpire, Tony Randazzo.
Been to Korea?
I've not.
Been to South Korea a couple of years ago and visited some of our military personnel.
Here's an 0-1 to Albert, who's hit 43 home runs. A ball and a strike. The bullpen for the Astros is quiet. They love the way Springer's throwing. Cardinal bullpen has Isringhausen getting ready in case they get the lead. That almost took Springer's hat with it. 1 on, 1 out.
I think it did.
It at least ended up in the dirt.
I mean, Russ is what, 6'5", and he was lucky to get down underneath this line drive. Look, we're right on the sweet spot. He just never elevated the ball. It's about head high, and he almost took off the head of Russ Springer. That's sweet swinging right there. Second hit of the night for Albert. Russ is thankful it was a little bit higher than his head.
Here is Renteria, time to bust out of it. Only 1 out of 15 in his career against Springer.
This is the time for Edgar.
Average down to 283. And he does. Into center field. Pujols will at least think about going to third, and he will. Beltran kicks it in center, and it's first and third, 1 out.
Joe, but just the natural instincts of Albert Pujols. At first, you're sitting there going, what are you doing, thinking about going to third? But his instincts were so good. He rounded the bag to be in position if this happened. Hits it on the heel of the glove, didn't look it in, and Albert was right there. Watch him being very aggressive, thinking that he's going to go to third. Then he started to slow up, and he saw the bobble and easily went to third. And that's just heads-up base running. That's anticipation of what could happen. And Phil Garner now is coming out to check on his pitcher, and a little bit of a jam. And once again, not a lot of confidence in the left-handers. He's got Oliver, who finished up last night's game, available, but he's not going to go to him. And he burned his bullet with Gallo in the 7th inning.
Now it's Edmonds, first and third, 1 out. See if Edmonds can produce the run. First half of the season this year, he really struggled in this type of situation.
Dave McKay went over to the dugout, and I just wonder if he said found out if Edgar gets a jump, can he go? Avoid the double play.
Strike 1 on the inside corner to Edmonds.
A lot of inside pitches have not been called strikes tonight. That one was.
Showed
inside.
you 50% of the time Edmonds delivers here with a runner at third, less than 2 out.
Inside to a left-handed hitter.
First and third, 1 out. 1 ball, 1 strike. Springer trying to go right back there.
Jim is tied his career high in home runs. He's 2 away from tying his career high in RBIs. Defensively, they're pushing him in and playing him to pull in the outfield.
On 1-1. Edmonds gets it done into center field. That is caught by Beltran. Pujols tags and walks home, and the Cardinals lead 3-2.
The pitch is out away from it, is sinking action, but it catches a lot of the plate. He's a high ball hitter, but on occasion he can be a classic left-handed hitter and be a low ball hitter. And the uppercut swing and the line drive to center, and now Izzy in earnest is warming up.
You can make the strong case that the hustle of Albert Pujols forced the error by Beltran in center, because there's no doubt Beltran had his head up looking at Pujols round second. When he kicked it in center, they gave him an error. Pujols ends up at third, and he scores in the sac fly by Edmonds.
How many times we see a guy just coast into second base, and when the bobble is made, you can't even adjust to it.
Crowd wants more. They want Reggie to pop one here. 1 on, 2 out, a run home. That's into center field. Renteria will turn and try to make it to third. Watch out. Throw there. Too late. First and third, 2 out.
Edgar almost made that fatal mistake of looking over his shoulder. It slows you down, and Beltran has a very good throwing arm, but they got a little awkward bounce on the ball at third base. He's able to slide to the inside part of the plate. Beltran comes up firing, and you see the ball going to the outside, so he slides to the infield side. There's where he looked back to slow him down, and it almost cost him, but the good slide avoids the tag.
Now Matheny can knock home his second of the night. He'd give Isringhausen a little breathing room. Won't be easy in the ninth with Berkman, Kent, and Lamb the scheduled hitters. First and third, 2 out. Matheny has a hit and an RBI tonight. Sanders takes second. Here comes Renteria. The Cardinals add to their lead, and Reggie is all the way at third base. It's 4-2.
Boy, that's a big wild pitch there. And remember, Osmus is a multi-gold glove winner behind the plate, but he couldn't find the ball right in the dirt, and it really was an easy. You know, you look at the technique of Mike Matheny. Here you see Sanders as Renteria scores, and Sanders was watching all the way and knew he could go to third unmolested.
Cardinals lead by 2. A chance for another with a hit. Strike 1 on a breaking ball to Matheny. So Isringhausen gets a little breathing room.
That's a stolen base for Reggie Sanders, his 19th of the season. He's second most on the club.
Two 1. Base hit by Pujols got this started. His usual hustle forced the issue and has helped the Cardinals take their first lead of the night.
And one more reason why I picked him as the MVP.
Here comes a 2-1. 3-1 with Luna on deck.
Mike is be surprised if he saw a fastball.
That'll put first and third for Luna. 2 out. Astros and Cardinals tomorrow night. May be the rubber game of the series. Right here on FSN Midwest. Here comes Phil Garner. Another right-hander is getting loose. That's Chad Qualls. And it looks like he's coming in to face Luna. So there was an error behind Springer. He compounded the problem in the 8th with the wild pitch. Cardinals lead by 2. The Cardinals have taken their first lead of the night, and one guy we haven't talked about is Edgar Renneria. Did he come up with a big hit after being 0 for his last 24?
0 for his last 24, and you knew that he's just too good of a hitter. He's been frustrated, particularly in that LA series, but he comes through at the right time in the clutch, and you know, is a big part of this right now is the Cardinal lead. They've got a 2-run lead, 4-2, and still batting with runners at the corners.
Hector Luna could add to that lead, and Isringhausen will take over in the 9th and deal with Berkman, Kent, and Lamb. Chad Qualls is in his 17th game. Here's a team, Al, that's fighting for a playoff spot, and they're bringing in guys that haven't been with them for the majority of the season. This Astro team has really changed a lot of personnel, and they're giving guys opportunities with a game on the line where every game matters for this Houston club.
They've had a very productive farm system for quite a few years and a lot of good young pitching. This guy got the save, his first major league save on Sunday.
Luna 2-0.
Good sinking action. Big man. And Jim Hickey, their pitching coach, told me he's one of the guys that has solidified their bullpen now. 6'5", 220.
3-0 with Marlon Anderson in the on-deck circle. He would hit for Calero, who is in line for the win if the Cardinals hang on. Sanders has a hit in this inning, and Matheny drew a walk to end the night for Springer. Luna on 3-0. 3-1. Red Sox defeated the Devil Rays 8-6.
San Francisco won 8-1 at Milwaukee.
Cubs will stay a half game out in the wild card race. Should end the inning. Ice hop for Vizcaíno. The Houston Astros started this night 1 game out in the wild card. They need to win to stay 1 game out. Albert Pujols got a hit, hustled his way over to third, broke the tie. It's 4-2. Kiko Calero with a perfect 8th inning against the top of the order for Houston. A couple of strikeouts, in line for the win. Not enough hours in the day to shop for that special sports fan in your life. Club.com makes it easy. Visit STLCardinals.com online. Shop 24/7 to find that special someone, a special baseball treat. Shop Club.com today. Isringhausen has had plenty of rest, and he will try to save it for Calero and turn the magic number to 4 for the Cardinals.
One of just 3 Cardinals, Lee Smith and Bruce Sutter, the other 2 to post 40 saves in a season, and he's 6 saves away from tying Lee Smith's franchise record of 47 and 91.
So Taguchi takes over in left. Luna's still at third. Berkman first up, and a fastball is a strike. Berkman tonight 2 for 2 plus a walk in this series. 6 out of 7. Enough. That's foul and out of play. Isringhausen has made the charge. And there are the numbers. 41 on the year, tied with Gagne, Benitez, and he has more than Smoltz and Billy Wagner and a whole list. Danny Graves, who started out with 34 saves in the Reds' first 27 games. I don't know how he did it, but somehow he managed it.
That's about it.
0-2 the count.
Did want the fastball, curveball, Uncle Charlie.
And Berkman was ready for it. So was Womack. Takes a line drive to get him out in this series. Brent Stover is ready to tell us what's coming our way on the Midwest Sports Report.
Coming up after the game on the Busch Light Midwest Sports Report, complete Cards post-game coverage, and John Hadley takes your calls at 1-888-RING-FOX. That and more after the game. And now back to Joe and Al.
Thanks, Brent. Here is Jeff Kent. This combo of Berkman and Kent has been a handful the last two nights. One out, nobody on, and a breaking ball stays up and in from Isringhausen.
Feel a little easier, though, with a 2-run lead when you're facing Jeff Kent.
He can only make you worry.
Yep.
He can only make it a 1-run game. One out, nobody on, 1-0 pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike.
He's 4 for 8 in the series. 22 home runs, but it sure seems like there are a lot of big ones against the Cardinals.
Kent takes a while outside the batter's box. We'll give you our Bud Light play of the game, and it's coming up after Kent. This great Cardinal lineup, all the hitting, very good pitching tonight. Matt Morris was great through 7. Calero a perfect 8. We'll highlight some other phase of the Cardinals attack. Another hard hit ball. Taguchi going to get it. Nice play. 2 out. 2 rockets for 2 outs here in the ninth. Our play of the game is brought to you by Bud Light. Fresh, smooth, real. It's all here. Pujols can beat you so many ways, and I would make the case that as much as anything, the hustle in his legs will help the Cardinals beat Houston tonight.
Anticipation. He was in position that if Beltran bobbled the ball, which he did, which would allow him to go to third base, just with the hustle.
Here is Mike Lamb. There is strike 1. The Cardinals can make a lot of teams happy tonight. They'll make the Cubs happy. They'll make the Giants happy. They'll make the Padres happy. The Marlins trying to beat Houston. Knock Houston 2 games off the wild card lead. That's ball 1 to Lamb.
Just started in Los Angeles, but San Diego's jumped out to a 2-0 lead. LA batting in the first.
2 out, nobody on. 2-run lead, 9th inning. 1-1 pitch to Lamb. Cardinals are a strike away from the magic number of 4.
Put him away on this pitch. Curveball.
Is Lamb ready for that? Renneria is ready for that. That does it. 3 hard hit balls in the ninth. They all count the same, and Isringhausen gets number 42 to lead the league. A 4-2 Cardinal victory, and the magic number is now officially 4. Rubber game tomorrow night right here on FSN Midwest. Jason Marquis will be on the mound. Midwest Sports Report comes your way. Ahora.